Okay, it's 6 o'clock. Let's go ahead and call the meeting to order. Pledge of Allegiance is first.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, next up is approval of agenda.
Mr. Chair, I would like to move L1 to after E, if possible, please.
Okay, do I hear a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. Other than that, we approve the agenda.
I'll second the agenda.
All in favor? Aye. Okay, staff recognition.
Mr. Chair, we'd like to introduce Calapuya Principal Mark Tim, who will present an award to Aaron Luckman.
Before that, can we just make sure that no one in the audience needs translation? I apologize.
Does anyone need translation? Okay, thank you. Thank you for the reminder.
Get this up a little bit. Just to kind of describe what happened, the incident happened at Calapuya Middle School. November 6th, we had a student come a little bit late after first lunch. So it was in between classes, so everybody's in class at the time. She said she's hungry, and so she get something to eat? So staff escorted her to the cafeteria, where she got this kitchen staff made her a lunch, and so she was sitting there quietly by herself. Kitchen staff was there. Aaron was kind of sweeping the floors and cleaning off the tables for the next lunch. And as she's eating her lunch, she started choking on a hamburger, and it wouldn't go up, wouldn't go down. She was kind of panicking. She got up, she started pacing back and forth. Aaron kind of noticed a little bit that the behavior was kind of off. She started kind of banging on the table to get attention. Without reservation, Aaron ran over there, talked to her, say, "Are you okay?" She's like, "No, I'm not, I'm choking." He ended up she had a backpack on and a coat on, but he was able to get around her and perform the Heimlich maneuver on her. First time didn't work, second time it dislodged the food. They both came to the office. Aaron described to the office staff that this girl was choking on a hamburger. He was able to get it dislodged, and so we escorted her to the counseling office, where we contacted parent and said, "Hey, your daughter was choking on a hamburger," and the custodian had to perform the Heimlich maneuver on her. Dad was pretty appreciative of that and wanted to thank the custodian for that. Later on in the day, I checked in with her, and she said she was in good spirits, doing fine. I was able to actually watch video of it, and it was, when you watch the video, it's a little different experience than a story. But it was definitely amazing, where he was, without question, he was there to perform the Heimlich maneuver on her. Checked in with her the next morning. All she said to me was, "He saved my life." And so they did a couple fist bumps, and he went back to work, and she went to class, and that's the story. So, Aaron Luckman.
Aaron, you're going to come up and be recognized by the board. Yeah, come all the way up front.
Yeah.
Get you up here. They're going to take a photo for it.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Come on, Mark.
Yeah.
We didn't rehearse.
Really well done, thank you. Appreciate you. Performing life-saving measures, Aaron. There you go. Thank you very much. Aaron, thank you. Thank you. Appreciate all you do.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. Okay. Next, Bruce.
Oh, next up, we have Mari V. presenting a staff recognition for Brandy Plegman.
Oh, yes. Okay. Okay, good afternoon. On December 12, 2025, the district received an email from an individual who presented himself as a 15-year-old homeless girl. Students in situations like these are a priority for the FAC team. Also, under the McKinney-Vento law, these students need to be registered as soon as possible so the school can provide consistency, free meals, and education. Brandy Plackman, right here, from the FAC team, was the assigned team member to work with this student. She scheduled a meeting with the potential student to enroll her in high school. They were meeting at the public library. Before the meeting took place, Brandy expressed some concerns regarding the student's story. I offered to send another team member to the public library, but Brandy said she would be okay since she was meeting at a public place. I asked Brandy to remain in touch with me during the meeting. We started messaging each other even before the meeting with the student began. Upon the individual's arrival, Brandy sent a message letting me know the individual was not a 15-year-old girl. After some exchanges and some concerns about the situation, Brandy sent several messages, including another message with the number of the room in the library where the meeting with the student was happening. Without hesitation, and with the help of another team member, I drove to the library as soon as possible. Brandy was in a room with this individual by herself, and we could see her from outside. Brandy's thinking took off right away. She remained calm, asked me not to enter the room too, because I saw her and I wanted to get in that room with her. And she remained calm and asked the individual to start registration while she was answering some work messages. Instead of answering the work messages, Brandy took pictures and videos of the individual and sent them to us that were outside of the room. We sent those images to the police and other partners to see if we could identify this individual. During this time, Brandy remained in control of the situation. The individual was asking to get a student ID as soon as possible, and he was having certain conversations with Brandy, and she just went with the flow, tried to help this individual register, and at the same time to protect herself, protect all of us that were in that situation, and not trigger this individual. She remained professional and focused the entire time. A bit later that day, this individual was identified as a 27-year-old male sex offender. The individual was detained and charged with several counts. Brandy's quick thinking and actions helped us identify an individual who wanted to enter one of our schools to take advantage of our students and the systems we have in place. Brandy, we're very proud of you.
Thanks.
We're proud of the work you did that day and the work that you do every day.
Thank you.
It is an honor to recognize you today for the commitment that you have to our students and to your work, not only that day, but every day. And please accept the certificate of recognition.
Good story to have, for sure.
We'll come to you.
Yeah, we'll gather around you.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. We can make this work. Find a spot.
Yeah,
come on, guys.
Sure.
This is important stuff.
Thank you for your diligence.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Abram, over here, bud.
That's what I was thinking.
Thank you.
Just some of the positive things that happen around here. It's kind of cool that we have such great staff that are helping us out. Next up, comments from the public. Mr.
Mr. Chairman, we have 4 comments from the public that were submitted by noon today. The first public comment, the commenter makes the following points. Express concern about fairness that middle schools do not have basketball teams while Corvallis has basketball for middle school. Stated basketball teams not only build friendships between classmates, but build teams full of teamwork and allows more time to be spent together in middle school. Stated high schools in Albany don't offer future Bulldogs programs for girls in different sports like they do for boys' sports. Stated a petition has been gathered with signatures from middle school students and teachers. Comment number 2, the commenter made the following points, shared a letter submitted to the editor, urged board to fulfill the mission of building bridges to lifelong learning, making drastic improvements on the reading and math skills of students, requesting establishing a outcome-based K-12 education improvement plan with goals, strategy, timeline, progress reports being given to the public. Requested a response to concerning questions on the next agenda. Public comment number 3, the commenter makes the following points. Requested the board and administration to revisit the strike makeup days. Stated that many parents would rather have teachers retain their weekly PD on Wednesdays as well as their grading and conference days in lieu of student contact days. Suggested sending a survey to parents to see what the majority want to move forward with scheduling. Suggested exploring exemptions with the state if total hours without makeup days makes it necessary. Stated it may ease tension with classified staff by changing makeup days back to non-contract days. Public comment number 4, the commenter makes the following points. Concerned about the exclusion of students receiving special education services on January 6th. Stated to use caution when excluding a protected class. Stated if schools cannot operate safely, for all students, then schools should not be operated. Requested public citation of the exact section under IDEA law that allows for the district to hold students out of school for up to 10 days due to a lack of trained staff. Stated that GAPS needs to work with their employees to not continue the pattern of decision-making. Requested district explore as many options as possible regarding the makeup dates, including the waiver. Stated believes the district has days built into the calendar and that the district would be under the threshold for missed days during the strike. Expressed concern about teachers' guaranteed prep time in the contract now that they have lost all their days for grading and paperwork. Requested district to reconsider these makeup days and remember commitment to serve all students. So just a couple of quick comments. We are constantly, and we meet monthly with Albany Boys and Girls Club and the YMCA. And I do believe that there are some teams that are run for both boys and girls. I cannot confirm that the girls' teams are as numerous as the boys. But we are, of course, always looking, and I know, Mr. Morse, you've said several times that you are always open to how we might be able to provide more of the athletics within the schools. And so we're, of course, willing to look at what the cost of such a program would be. We are going to talk a little bit about math curriculum a little bit later today as we talk about budget. And then the final 2, I would just say this. It is, as we started out having missed 10 school days, there was no easy and good solution to that. We are, of course, always looking for ways to do that. I do think it's a slippery slope when we begin to talk about less school or less school not being important, right? And so it really is what's best for kids. We're open to discussions around what that might mean, but I think what's best for kids, if we do not believe that being in school more, we have food insecure students, we have 1,265 special ed students, and if we do not believe that that is worth contemplating and worth being a little bit of a North Star that we should point towards, then we begin to argue ourselves into a lesser school year or something like that. And we believe school is important, but we're willing, with that in mind, to have a discussion. But at the same time, the idea that we would just not have kids again in schools would be difficult. That's all we have for the 4 comments.
Any comments from board members on the comments? Nope.
No.
I would, the first one there about middle school activities, we're trying to get those back. You know, this is the fourth year. They were completely gone. I mean, my kids didn't have it in middle school. And now we're moving them back. Are we trying to add things each year? Yes, we are. And I think that should be the ultimate goal. There for a while, everyone in the Mid-Valley went away from it. We seem to be the last one to come back. Like you're discussing, Corvallis and Lebanon and some of the others already have basketball and things like that. And I think that's where we should be moving. Obviously, reading and math scores, Mrs. Senator Yee shares with us that's a goal. We're moving towards it. I think that's real important. The public comment about the makeup days. The unfortunate reality is when you make up days that aren't on the original calendar, there's going to be some people that aren't happy with which days you pick, right? I wish that weren't the case, but you know, you have a plan and everyone plans around it as best they can, and you can't blame anybody for that, right? But what we as a board and the superintendent wanted to do was add days back to the calendar to get back student learning. You know, we're still coming back out of the hole from COVID, and we got a long ways to go. So us missing school days or asking the state of Oregon to waive school days just makes no sense. It just does not. So we very much appreciate that everyone helped us as much as we could make those days possible. I think in the future we will continue to do that. I mean, I know our superintendent's going to talk to how many people showed up and how many kids showed up. And I mean, if we get a large propensity of our kids and staff there and we can get learning days, hey, that's what we want to do. So, okay, next up.
L1 on this.
Health Services Report. Bruce.
Are you ready, Marivy? I'd like to introduce Marivy, the leader of our FACT Center. She's going to give a presentation on the services that we provide and the work that she and her team does every day. Thanks, Marivy.
And we have the presentation.
Give me 1 second. I got it, Chris.
I can share it with you, Bruce.
I have it, Marivy.
Okay.
I've just got to get logged into the board, the Zoom meeting. Sorry about the delay.
Bruce?
Yeah.
Kathy, can you allow me into the meeting? Sure.
I'm just gonna give these now. Is that the one I just gave you? Yep. This is right.
Thank you. This is great.
You have it, Chris. All right, Chris has it.
All right, thank you. Yeah, perfect. All right, well, my name is Marivy Wright. I am the Health Services Coordinator for the school district. And I am over two teams, the FACT team and the nurses team. Next, please. So just to give you a little bit of background, we have 6 district nurses. We have 4 full-time LPNs, 1 part-time LPN, and 1 nurse department secretary. The FACT team has 5 family liaisons, 1 ESD liaison, 1 attendance engagement advisor, and 1 FACT team secretary. Both teams work closely with counselors, special programs, and all the schools in the district. Next, please. Just to give you an idea of the scope of work that these individuals do, you have there a list of things that They do every day. They provide McKinney, Vinto, and foster care support. So our students that are homeless or students that are in foster care, we support them with the specific services that are required by the law and that the school district needs to provide to them, like enrollment as soon as possible, if they need school supplies, if they need any other agency to support these students, we try to link them to the community partners that can support them. We offer healthcare navigation. We help with medical, dental, vision, and mental health providers. We try to set appointments for these students, and we do referrals too. We help with scheduling the visits too. We provide clothing and hygiene resources. As you probably know, we have a clothing closet at Southshore Elementary where we can have, we have there pretty much everything that you need to send a student to school. So from shoes to backpacks to school supplies, hygiene products, we have everything there. We are very thankful for everyone that donates to the FAC team because it's thanks to them and some of the little grants that we have and Title I that we can always keep things in that closet. We help families with food and household resources. We support them with forms and applications. We have some parenting resources that we offer to the parents when it comes to grief support groups and some other groups that will educate parents, especially when they're struggling with their children at home. We link the families to community resources and then support parents during school meetings too. We have some parents that may not feel comfortable going to meet with the principal or going to an IEP, so we try to attend to those meetings if they require our assistance. We also train pretty much the entire district in the MAC survey and coordinate the MAC survey. That's a way that the district receives funding. And then each FAC team member has special projects they work on. So we have individuals that have, that work with the teen parents in the school district or teens that are expecting. We have some others that work in the care rooms. So if something happens to any of our employees or the students and we need a care room, we are gonna have someone coordinating that. So everyone has a special project. When we are looking at the nurses, all of them create individual health plans for our students that need it. They ensure the well-being of all of the students. They provide care coordination. They manage chronic diseases. They provide direct care. They do delegations, disease prevention, health education, and they work closely with other medical teams in the community so we can serve the students the best that we can. They also collect data. We bill for Medicaid, some of them, and documentation for the nurses is very important, so that is always happening. And then we provide trainings to the staff in the school district so we can keep our students as safe as possible. So I want to share with you some of our data, and you're going to see that we have some data for 2023 and 2024, and think that the data that we have now for this year is only January, right? So these are not the numbers that we're going to have at the end of the school year. So last year, we identified 545 McKinney-Vinto students. Those are the students that are considered homeless, so students that are living in garages, in the street, in tents, sharing the house with somebody else, in a car, in a shed. So those are the students that are considered McKinney-Vinto students. We have 72 foster care students. That number varies quite a bit during the school year because some kids move around quite a bit, so sometimes we have a little bit more, a little bit less. We assisted more than 600 students with the school supplies, 465 home visits. I want you to think that we are a very small team, but they were able to do 465 home visits just last year. We connected 410 students to clothing, for food, school supplies, housing, OHP, health services, and other community and family support services. They did 389 mental health referrals, 119 attendance referrals, and more than 1,300 students were supported during the school year, one way or another. So that's for last year. This year, we have identified that number is a little bit behind, so it's a little bit more than 300 McKinney-Vinto students this year so far. We have 65 foster care students. Again, we have a lot of students that are in foster care that go in and out or they move schools. We just got a few more this week that we need to update, so I think that number may be a little bit higher. We assisted more than 650 students with school supplies. So far, we have done a little bit more than 100 home visits. We have connected this year 800 students to clothing, food, school supplies, and family support services. So far, we have made 206 mental health referrals and 102 attendance referrals. So those are our numbers for this year so far. Next. With the nurses, last year we had 471 students with individual health plans. They did 58 delegations. They trained or certified 271 individuals in CPR and AD, 187 emergency trainings, and managed immunization requirements for every student and vision screenings for more than 6,000 students. So this is no easy work either. Everyone is pretty busy. For this year, we have 461 students with individual health plans, 51 delegations done so far, 468 individuals that have been certified, 132 anticipated emergency trainings, and we are managing the immunization requirements for every student, and so far we have done vision screenings for more than 6,000 students. You can see the average of our nurses for the ratio between one nurse per student. So it's a little bit more than 1,500. This suggested amount of students per nurse is about 750. This varies per district. Sometimes we see one nurse for 4,000. I have been trying to find out a little bit more about what the other districts do, and sometimes we find better numbers. What I see with, and if you look at those numbers, what I see is that the medical needs of our students keeps increasing. So 2021, 2022, we had 346 students with IHPs, right? And then the number goes the next year to 374, and then 421, and now 461. So it's a little bit, it kind of varies sometimes because we lose some of the students and then they come back, but the numbers keep increasing. So something to keep in mind when we are trying to serve the students. So this is a school supply giveaway that we did this year. When we do this event is organized by FACT, and more I try to think about doing this event in a way that will serve the families to the max, right? So I try to invite other agencies from the community to attend the event. So this year we had OHP navigators that were there to help the families if they needed to sign up for OHP or they needed to set up an appointment. We had Jackson Street. We always try to invite others outside the community that can support our families. This year, for the first time, we had the Linn County Public Health Immunization Van, because that way, if a student didn't have the vaccines that they need to come to school, they could find out what they needed, and they could provide the immunizations right there. So it was very successful. I was told by public health that it was one of the best events that they had attended during the summer. And they ran out of vaccines, so we were able to provide the vaccines for some families, and those ones that were not able to get their vaccination, we set up appointments for them to attend public health during the week and get the vaccines that the kids needed. So we're trying to create some systems so we can have things in place to serve the students the best we can. We want to do things in a way that there is always something written in somewhere so people know what needs to be done. And if someone, leadership changes or a team member leaves, we have something in place that we know what needs to be done. So for foster care students, we have worked really hard in identification, working with individuals in the schools to let them know if you hear the kid that is saying that he's living with somebody else, let's check, right? Let's see what is going on there. Or if they come to enroll the kid and they give you the caseworker name, reach out to FACT, because we're gonna call DHS and find out if this kid is in foster care. We collaborate with DHS. We're actually going to attend their meeting in March to meet with all of the case workers that they have, to let them know some of the challenges that we have in the schools when it comes to our foster care students, and then to let them know that we are here to support them too. So we need to collaborate. Documentation is something very important for us too. So we are requesting every caseworker to submit documentation when it comes to transportation requests or notification forms. So if a student is placed in a school, we have to have documentation that that kid is in DHS care, who can pick up the kid, who cannot have contact with the kid, who is the CASA worker. So we're working really hard to ensure the safety of the students. We are trying to develop relationships with the students, with the parents, so there is not an awkward moment that if someone needs help, they don't know who to go to. They know they can reach out to us. Last year, we had 5 tutoring groups for these kids. This year, it has been a little bit of a challenge to set up the groups, but we're working on it. And then we created too a checklist for our older foster care students, because some of them, when they are in high school and they turn 18, they want to leave the system, and sometimes we found out that they are not very well prepared. So making sure that they know the things that they need before they leave the system. They can receive services until they are 21 years old, but some of them think that, I'm done, I can move on now. But we want to make sure that they have a little bit of a guide before they leave us. So do you have your documentation? Do you have your ID? Do you have a birth certificate, a social security number before you leave us? Because we can help you get these things in place so you are not lost when you leave. Where can you go for help if you need that help and you are not in a school anymore? So we have created that list for them. We're working with CASA a little closer. We started that partnership last year, and we are attending now the dependency work group meetings. And those are meetings where we have some judges there, we have lawyers, we have DHS. So we are able to sit down with them at the table and say, these are, some of the things that we're seeing at our schools. How can you please help us? So that's the way that we were able to set up the meeting with DHS for March. So it has been very successful to attend those meetings. For the McKinney-Vinto students, the same. We have identification and an intake form that we use. We link those students to the school liaison. We link the family or the student to resources. We used tutoring groups for them last year. We are tracking the seniors' intentions, so we know what they want to do after they leave us. So when they leave us, are they prepared? Same thing that we do for the foster care students. Where are you going to go? Are you going to the military? Are you going to school? Are you going to take a break? Are you going to a trade school? We want to make sure that they are set for the future. We help them with FAFSA and scholarships too. And then with Jackson Street Youth Services, we have created a little bit of a report that they send us when the kids go to their shelter. So we know who is there and may not be in our radar. And we are developing ROI with them too. Next. Mental health services, for the first time, we brought all the mental health providers to the table. We sat during the summer all together to identify gaps and needs that our students have and how we could take care of them. So if we have a provider that offers or takes a lot of insurances, but most of the kids at that particular school where that provider is only have OHP or mainly have OHP, maybe that's not the best provider for that school. So trying to work around all of those things to make sure that we use our providers the best we can, and they can be in as many schools as possible. I was actually waiting for the first invoice for our for our new mental health provider, and when I saw how we did during the beginning of the school year, I asked them to please send us more providers to the schools, because in our budget we put that there, so hopefully we can have more individuals serving or more providers serving our students. The need is there. We have clinicians in several schools, but the need is even higher. So it is a little bit of an issue for some of the providers that we already have, because there are not enough providers to hire. So that's where the challenge comes in. But we're trying to support them as much as we can. We had the students, they need, the clients too. So we try to collaborate in a way that will benefit our students. And we still, if we have students that need the care and we don't have a provider in that particular school, we still refer the student to a provider in the community. Next, please. So Health Services has been working in creating a manual for staff and families to use as reference to understand protocols and procedures. So something that I looked up was how other school districts have things in place that we didn't have. So those were, for example, manuals. What happens at school when a kid gets sick? What happens if my kid has these issues? So following ODE guidelines, the American Academics of Pediatrics, making sure that we're following the right agencies out there. And with students in mind, we created those manuals. We improved the onboarding process for nurses and LPNs. We are compliant with Division 22 for health rooms and isolation rooms. We, at the beginning of the year, put the communicable disease plan for 2024 for each school, so they know what needs to be done. We are trying to be proactive, so if there is something that happens and we find out right away, okay, what needs to be done? Do we have to clean the school with a specific cleaning product that will target that particular virus or that particular bacteria? So we're looking at things like that. Now, what we don't know, right? If it doesn't come to us because the school doesn't tell us or the school doesn't even know, we cannot target that. So I'm very open to listen to our parents. I'm always, I welcome their emails, their messages. I try to problem solve as much as I can with them and review. If there is something that needs to be improved, share it and see, let's look at it. And if there is a way that things can be improved, we are open to that. I have been looking into several agencies that work with special needs families. So I think it will be very beneficial for us to have something more specific for these families. So I'm working on that, and so there is more to come for that. But I'm trying to meet, I think I have a meeting with them at the end of the month. So hopefully we can serve our families and develop trust with those families in a way they know we care for your kids. We do, but I think we want to increase that feeling. So that's what we are trying to work on. Next. So these are our partnerships. Some of our partnerships, we have a lot more. We always welcome to work with individuals in the community and agencies in the community. It takes a village to serve our students. We cannot do it all. So it's thanks to them that we have and we do all the things that we have and we do. Our last partnership is with a group called ASAP, and they are a group of, I understand we have teachers there, community members, and several other individuals. Somehow they formed this group to help Title I students. So I met with them this week, and they're gonna help us to have a little resource closet at the schools that are Title I. So right away we'll have something for the kid there at the school, and we don't have to run to the resource closet to Central. So they're gonna help us with that. They're gonna manage it through volunteers, and I think it will be very helpful for some of our schools, especially the Title I schools. So I think, this is, we're trying to do our best, and if you have any questions, I think this is my last slide. Yeah.
Any questions?
I do. So much of what you're doing is providing medical service, correct?
Say that again, I'm sorry.
Medical services, much of what you're doing is,
Really what we do is social services and medical services. So anything that can, we want to prevent and we want to work with our families and our students so the kids can be successful at school. So what are those things that are not academic that can support the student?
right, and so that's my question maybe for staff or is the community care organization engaged and as a partner and helping fund these activities?
A CCO? No.
Yeah, it would seem to me that has to be an ask because.
Well, they sort of are.
Go
Right?
ahead,
I mean, you're
Ryan.
billing for the mental health services that are happening in the schools, and the OHP kids are getting paid by the CCO. So I don't know I it sort of depends on what you mean, I think.
Yeah, I'm not sure what.
We can answer those and come back. I mean,
Okay.
that, there might need to be a little bit of work there. I have not considered it, Brian's.
As the need will continue to grow and as our budget will continue to be under pressure, it's important to find outside resources to help fund these activities. And that would be the first place I would stop.
Yeah, I mean, that was gonna be my question, is how much do you bill Medicare for stuff that you're doing, Medicaid, Medicare?
So that's a very good question, because today I was looking at that too. So we bill to Medicaid for students that have services in their IEPs. So I have identified some other services that can be billed. So I was asking today, what would it take to start billing for that? Of course, billing is gonna bring us more funding, but at the same time, we will have more individuals, so we could use that part of that funding to maybe use that to fund another position or half of a position or a per diem nurse or things like that. So I had a meeting with the business department this morning. I reached out to the employee in the district that does the billing, the Medicaid billing, to get more information about how can that be done so we can be more successful. A lot of the activities that we do too are free. I would say that they're free, but they're not free because we bill, right? If we have a mental health provider that comes to the school, they can bill the insurance that the student has. And then when we have, for example, Casa Latino Unidos comes and they provide an OHP navigator. Same thing with public health. We provide the place, we provide the client, so there is no any money in between, like I had to pay you had to pay me, nothing like that. We are collaborating to provide these services for free to the students.
Thank you, and thank you and the team for all that you're doing
Thank
to help
you.
kids in our community.
Thank you, yeah, you're welcome.
I had a couple cool questions. So you mentioned that there are students with an IEP and it has medical needs as part of that. And then also there's a difference with the individual health plans. Do those line up? Are they the same? Are they a different Venn diagram? Are they kind of touching, or how does that work?
So, yeah, so for the students that we bill for, those are the students that are mainly nurse dependent or medically fragile. For the other ones are students that they have some needs. For example, let's say a student that has diabetes, and we're not billing for that student yet.
Okay.
So we need to look into that and see. I was even thinking about this morning, can we pilot and use just 2 nurses and get the system down, right? 2 nurses that have students that have diabetes, and let's learn, and then next year we can start doing more. Because it's something very new right now. Like some of the states are implementing these now. It's very new. So something that we need to look into and see how that could benefit us and the students.
And then just a quick follow-up, you gave kind of a little bit of a touch on it there for a second. I was gonna ask just what were some of the examples of what are individual health plans, of like what fits into that category as opposed to what would fit into the IEP category?
Yeah, so those are gonna be the kids that have seizures, that have heart issues, that have asthma. We have quite a few kids with asthma, so those, yeah, we see those there.
Awesome, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Okay, next up, district leadership team updates. Andy.
So we'll just go through a few short slides, and then Pete, you had asked to begin to review some of the funding, and we'll give you guys a little bit of an insight there. Not giving you the whole picture.
Right.
We looked into some of that, and we don't have enough time, and
No,
I don't think anybody could walk away with a
What
deeper
you're sharing is what I'm looking for.
Okay. Just before we go any further, we had student presence, students that were present on January 6th. We saw an 86% attendance rate on that day from students. One of our major concerns about makeup days was what Portland had experienced, where they had done some days over break, Christmas break, and had about 50% of their students attend. And then a large staff absence rate as well. So we were concerned about that. But we had a day that was within, Bruce had looked at December 10th's attendance, and it was 87%.
That's correct.
So there really was not much of a difference for that day. One of the things about the Portland numbers that I just shared was just the high rate of staff absences. And here we had this strike and it was difficult, but we had only about 6% of certified staff that didn't come. Certified staff was here and did a great job. And actually, we only had about 17% of classified staff who did not come. And so would we like to have more? You bet. We want to recognize how, like, school's not the same without our classified staff there. And so we want to continue to work. We're going to work on Wednesday. But I just want to really note that compared to Portland Public's support of those work days, I thought that our staff was great. And so we want to build on that. We want to express our appreciation there. I want to express it, again, my appreciation for the people in the district office who went out and worked in buildings. And I think that's a good enough experience and people enjoyed that. There were several of them that had a definite understanding of how hard our classified staff work every day. And we want to acknowledge that. And it's a good way to learn what they do. And so I want to remind people that we kept 5 special ed programs closed. We also closed on that same day 4 preschools that have not been mentioned, and that we had the vast majority of our special education students. We have about 1,275 of those students in the district, and the vast majority of those, of course, were served that day. ODE has reached out to us, and we are just kind of partnering with them and letting them know about our plans as we move forward. And if there are any questions, they can call us, we can call them. And we want to share, or just basically state that we share the intention to have all kids in school, right? If it's important for 8,700 students, it's important for 8,800 students, and we agree with that, and we want to continue to move forward. And so just really appreciate people's work. I know we've got work ahead of us this week, and we're pledged to do that. This is just kind of an update on where we are and where we're going through the year. And you can see that continuing student learning, it takes staff learning to move to student learning. You guys will recall that we shared with you the CEL teacher rubric in the fall. Feels like a long time ago, and there's been a kind of a break in our focus on this. We are going to be picking that up here in the middle of the month, and we will continue. Remember that this year is a year for learning only, and it actually works out pretty well that we're going to be able to spend the rest of this year coming up to speed on that. We're also working at the same time with our administrators to shift them into being more reflective in terms of how they work with teachers, and we think that's a healthy shift as well. We got back on the horse here on January 7th. We had our collaborative steering committee, again with teachers and administrators working together. Classified was present as well. Liz Craig was there. And we began to work on the district survey this spring and planning the first steps in planning for our trainings next year. And so I really feel like one of the great things was just the chance to just come together and do work together. And I thought that was a big success. And I'll give Kelsey a chance in a minute to talk about our Black Student Success Grant, which Kelsey had such a big hand in, and then Latino Family Engagement last Friday night. You want to talk just a little bit?
I present to you all in 2 weeks, so I'll dig deeper then. But
Sure, yeah.
essentially, I partnered with Jason Dorsett of the NAACP and Joanne Miller of AAYLC, and we were awarded $2.1 million across a 4-year time span to support Black student success. We decided to work across all school districts and community partners within Lynn Benton to share that funding and to make us more competitive, because it's a highly competitive grant. Only 17 folks across Oregon are awarded it. So very exciting. And then as 30% of our school district is Latino, we made an intentional effort to call, well, I did not, my amazing Welcome Center team called about 3,500 folks who had stated that they prefer Spanish in their household to invite them to an event in collaboration with LBCC, where we just kind of reminded them of the laws in place that protect their students and FERPA, and helped them understand that sending their kids to schools is still safe, no matter status or their background. And we had amazing turnout and also a lot of kids, and we had some fantastic youth from MECHA show up to help with childcare and some other folks in the district. So
Awesome, thank you. And I'll give Dave a chance to comment on the fact that we are also working on our facilities, reviewing the current status of our facilities. It feels like probably a long time ago when the 2017 bond did that, and we're not saying that there's a bond here. We are just saying that we have a lot of roofs that have been under a lot of sun and frost and rain over the last 10 years, and we need to start thinking about what shape they're in, where their warranties are, and there's a lot more that goes into that. So Dave, you want to just talk a little bit about just the process Lauren's going through?
Yeah, we've contracted with ODE to do the facility assessments, so we're in the process of getting those reports back, and when we get them back, we'll bring them to you. Synthesizing that, bringing that together, it will be a big project, but we'll bring you an update here in the near future.
Okay, thank you. Finally, we are already working on the budget upcoming, and we know we've got a different number from the state. We have many opinions on its adequacy and how we go towards maybe improving that number or explaining some of the things that aren't dealt with there. As an example, Lake Oswego has already taken the number and looked, and they're going to be cutting 12 million next year. You never know when you look at a district from afar whether or not they postpone cuts and now they need to make them. We don't know what their enrollment is. There's a lot of different complexities there, but we know that the time is now for us to begin to plan. We're looking at math curriculum. Senator Yee has continued to make the comment that our math scores are in need of improvement. We don't disagree with that. We think that a curriculum would be really important, and so we will be looking to see how much of it we can do. The priority would be K-5. Following that, 6-8 is affordable. Following that, high school is affordable. Facility needs obviously need to be somewhat figured into what we're going to do. And then finally, enrollment is this year, probably more than others, just a real thing that we're gonna have to look at and to really factor in. I think I've mentioned before that we are capturing about 81% of our newborn children that 5 years later after they're born, they come to the district. Before COVID, we were about 91%. And so we have to be aware of that. And also just really look, I don't know what to project out of it. We have not seen students not return. We had a good attendance number on January 6th, but we also know that, will private schools have bigger waiting lists? We don't know that. So we will be working really hard to make sure that kindergarten kids are feeling good about coming to the district. That's just going to be really important to this year and to watch that closely. So Pete had asked that we do this. This is one aspect of our district funding in the general fund. And we're going to talk just about, and we'll probably do different things as we go through, something that is understandable. It's not the whole thing, but we want to talk today about weighted formulas for students. This is commonly referred to as ADMW, or Average Daily Membership Weighted. So if you take a look at how students are weighted for funding, the basic student, standard school, is a 1.0 FTE, full-time enrollment. Special education students are double weighted. They get two weights, but the state caps that at 11% of your total population. One of the significant things that we are trying to get done at the legislature this year is to move that to 14 or 15%, because that is the state average, right? So we are currently, that was set years ago and was the state average at that time. So they said if you're above that, you don't get more, because they didn't want to incentivize too much of that. But we have seen over the years that that has just grown to where it is 14 or 15% across all districts. So one of the things that we were looking for this year is, can we move that up to where it reflects reality? It was not included in Governor Kotek's budget increase. And so this would be something, we think it's important. We think those students need the services, and so we will be looking to do that. English language learners, 1.5 FTE as opposed to the 1. Pregnant parenting, 2.0. Poverty, 1.25. Neglected delinquent, 1.25. Foster care, 1.25. And again, I say at the bottom, there are other factors that influence what we get. I note the small and rural schools. School districts in Eastern Oregon that are below a certain level of population, the whole school district gets double weighted, right? And that's how some of these small school districts like Monument or Mitchell can have staff there, right? Because they simply could not do it at the normal weight. When you get bigger, like Albany, or even mid-sized districts like Cascade, you reach the ability to, just through economy of scale, you can hire staff to do the work. I also do not include one thing that's outside of that, which is many districts, particularly in the metro area, Corvallis is another one, they have a local option that voters have passed in addition to these funds. So now if you look at this, and you can see that Albany's the blue line, 8890, this is last year's numbers. The 8,890 is just the number of students that we have in the district. 10,573 was the number that was all those additional weights added for special ed, for ELL. That becomes then 10,573 or more, and we received $114,510,000. If we look at David Douglas, for example, there are 8,525 students in David Douglas. That's slightly less than us. But then when you look at their ADMW weighted, they have 11,020. And so you can see David Douglas has 122 million, which turns into $14,000 a student as opposed to Greater Albany's 12,800. Reynolds is the most striking example there. 9257 is weighted to 12,335, $138 million, which is 24 million more than us. So there's a fairness to that. Our population of the students that get extra weighting is smaller, right? And so that's a challenge to the general fund, and we have to build our expenses off of what we get. Right, so that is how weighted formula impacts different school districts differently. And so I had a conversation the other day where someone was saying they think that this formula actually works against smaller districts, right? I would say, though, that if you looked at Reynolds or you looked at David Douglas or Springfield, you would say they have challenges enough just with their student makeup. So, and I think that's the last slide. Okay. And we'll turn it over to you, Chairman Morse.
Okay. Next up is Jane. Business financial report?
That was it.
I think it's
Awesome.
me.
Definitely
Oh,
reports.
Waiting till
Okay,
Do the student.
27th.
right, okay, there you go. Sorry, Jane, I saw panic in your face. All right, Susie.
So in the fall, I met with Director Morris and Director Wilson, and we talked about what they would like to see in staffing numbers, and I'm hoping that we hit the mark. Today, I want to publicly thank Nancy and Chris from the HR department and Sarah and Elisa from the business department, because it's a joint effort between business and HR that we get people paid correctly and we have the correct number and information on staff. So in our district, currently, we have 613 licensed staff members, but we have 579 FTE. And so what that means is we have a few staff members that are less than full-time. So FTE is how many full-time positions you have. So we have 613 people, but we have 579 full-time positions. And then classified, we have 649 people, but we have 564 positions. And confidential, we have 6 people and 6 positions, so they're all full-time. Administrative, we have 52 positions and 51.75 positions. And so in our district, we have a total of 1,320 staff members, but we have 1,201, if you round up, positions. And then we wanted to show you licensed staffing and classified at the elementary level, and then at the middle school, and then at the high school. We did not include AOS in the high schools because it's different, because it's not a comprehensive high school, and so the staffing numbers are different. AOL is Albany Online. We have 2 licensed staff there. Fairmount is our BIT program and all of our special education staff members that help within the schools. CTP is our Community Transition Program Annex, and we have 4 certified staff there. At the district office, we have 3 mentors. We have people that work in AVID. We have educational technology and an MTSS person for a total of 9 staff members. And they are serving all the schools. And then Mari V talked about FACT and nurses, and then we have our ELL department too, and that's 13. And you can see that's how many people we have, and you can see the FTE on the right about the positions. And then we did the same thing for classified for you: elementary, middle, high, Fairmount again, AOS, the district office, CTP. We have food service. You only see 1 in food services. That's because all the food service people, other than 1 classified, are in the buildings. And technology, you'll see 12 at technology. Transportation, 101 people, but 66 positions. So there you'll see a huge difference in part-time versus full-time. And then custodial, again, they're all in the buildings except for 3 people. And FACT, ELL, nurses, and welcome center, there's 5. And then Albany Online, there's 1. And facilities and maintenance, they're not in buildings, and there's 23. And then on the second page, we put together more detailed so you could see it broken down in buildings. And I want to make sure you understand that food service is in the buildings, custodial, most of it is in the buildings, but you'll see that transportation and facilities are not in the buildings. And we provided you with a breakdown so you could see each building, and I think that's what you were asking for. We have 18 open positions in classified. That's why you'll see a little bit of discrepancy in the numbers right now. And so, but in licensed, we have a couple open positions, but we have people currently in them.
This was great for me. I mean, this is what I was looking for. Any other board members' comments?
For the purposes of this report, when you say classified 1.0 FTE, are you dividing by 8 hours?
8 hours.
Okay, so it's not anybody who's over the full-time threshold to receive benefits?
That's right.
Okay.
This just helps us see the month-to-month stuff.
Right, and
not
this is
need
the
it all the time.
first time.
Right.
And so I want to make sure that this is what you're asking for. And if it's not, if you could give me some feedback, and then we'll be able to compare this one to the next one to the next one. And we haven't been able to do that because this is the first time we've broken it down for you.
Go ahead, Brad.
I just had one little question. The only place where the FTE exceeded the number of staff members was when fact ELL and nurse, where you got 13.17. Does that mean someone works overtime? Is that what that means?
I think that they could absolutely, we know that that happens.
Okay, it was the only place where that number exceeded the other
Yeah.
one, I was just curious. Okay.
Question?
I would think it might be an additional stipend.
It could,
Yes.
yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
For people that supervise other people, those kinds of things.
I think it's great. I think it helps us understand the monthly pluses and minuses, and us getting this once or twice a year, I think helps us really understand the whole thing better. But we'll,
And I want to make sure, Susie, thank you, and thank your staff. I know this is some work involved here. We really appreciate it. I think it's going to help us to understand. Is it going to be relatively simple to update this going forward?
Yes.
And keep it, okay.
Yes.
Because I think this will be a great tool.
We're getting a lot better. Well, I got to tell you, the 4 people, the way they work together is amazing. And we've gotten a lot better on making sure that all of our numbers match, because we need to make sure everybody's paycheck's right, and we need to know who's hired and a part of our staff, so.
Excellent.
thank you. Anyone else? Okay, next up, board reports. Sean, you have anything this time?
I do not know.
No, sir.
Just an observation, Mr. Chairman. Again, to restate the financial position of the district, and I'm doing this before Jane speaks, and so I do that at my peril, I guess, but I'm going to walk into this. At the end of the last legislative session, public employees who worked for the state got a 13% pay increase. And it was over a 2-year period, and it was budgeted as such. Education was projected to and received a total of an additional 5%. The 13% was warranted, as that's where inflation took things and what they need to do to keep those dollars current. So that put education 8% lower than what we all needed it to be. The governor acknowledged that, I think last summer, and acknowledged that her starting point for this budget would be 5% higher. My assumption was 5% higher plus all the additional increases that were projected in all the other budgets going forward. And I take it from your presentation, Superintendent Gardner, that's not, in fact, what has happened. Is that correct? Or I'm supposed to just be sharing here and not engaging the superintendent, but please indulge me.
So I believe informally, we received 10-2 for this biennium with the early literacy grant kind of thrown in as helping that informally. I believe we have a number that the baseline is going to be 11.34 for the second. So the 5% that you're talking about is perhaps 1 year increase, but year over year, we think it's going to be 11, something like that.
So they've added about 11% or in the
Something like
1.1.
yeah.
The scary thing is right after that, they came out with the fact that they were going to require 660 million more towards PERS to keep PERS stable. So that took 60% of that raise away, so I mean, really what we're, we need more money than that because we're passing more money down the food scale, and we should, but we need more funding.
Agreed.
So we're all concerned about PERS, but I mean, they say it and they project it, and what they say and what the final published rate is,
Right.
many times it's different. They have the ability to smooth the rates, if you will, so we don't have all of that hit. And so you can only concentrate on what you can concentrate. And, right now, the top line number is the allocation. And so if it's an 11% increase, we're still upside down a bit.
Against inflation, for sure.
We're how do you say this? We're not digging ourselves out of that hole, if you will. And I don't mean that it's just for GAPS, it's statewide, but just really concerned. And I'm at least as concerned, and it's troubling to the point of mystifying that the various, what should be partners in the education community working with each other don't seem to be doing that. And it's disappointing.
Thank you. Part of the reason I asked Andy to kind of share this adjusted weighting is to kind of show some of the problems. We were talking about the budgeting, the 1.1, the PERS taking up, in theory, more than half of that. We need to plan ahead and we need the money. The other thing that always gets brought up, and Andy brought it up, is, IEPs. We're given extra money because they require more money for us to give them the services they require. But they cap it. So for us, that's 280 students that we don't get paid for in that way. And those are the kind of issues that make problems. I see Liz there, and one of the things we talked about, and some of the laws that change, like how do you handle kids that are violent, and some of those laws have changed, and now we're finding that we can't do certain things, So really, and Roger addressed it, I think really the best thing we can do is work together as a team and take these kind of things to the legislature and have them make some good laws that we can implement fiscally responsible. The last few years, unfortunately, we're getting less and less, and we're asked to do more and more. And that's always what we want to do, but sometimes you just fiscally can't do it. So hopefully we can all work together and get some things across the legislature. Student board members, who wants to go first? Oh, very polite.
All right, so for South Albany, we have an upcoming unified game, which is a special needs group of students class. They will be playing basketball from 6 to 7:30 at a home game in the main gym. We will take this, since we got recognized last year for the award, we take this as a Special Olympics opportunity for them. It is a way to outshine that we all have a talent to tell and share. So it's having an honor having them and be shown that we can all be included and bring back the community that we used to have before COVID. For winter sports, again, we have basketball, swimming, and wrestling wrapping up. We also have our student support, or the academic support, because finals weeks are approximating, which has now been moved to February, at the beginning of February, with the 6th and the 7th. The focus is intentional for study skills in Red Hawk 101, which is our academic support class, for them to accomplish their meeting requirements for their GPA. And then we have a new final schedule to allow makeup tests and more time for recovering grades. And that's all for South.
Thank you.
For West Albany, we had a winter formal last Saturday set up by the senior class and leadership class. We also have a upcoming winter art show on January 22nd. Also, I have concerns about how there's like a lack of in-person public comment, and how you're continually just, receiving online public comment. And I feel like that can sometimes reduce the impact of, public communication to the school board. So.
That's it?
Yep.
Okay. Just because I heard West South split the games, the basketball games they had. That was kind of crazy. So it was highly competitive. That was fun for everybody, I'm sure. Okay, next up, committee, community, and school presentation, school report, South Shore. Bruce.
I'd like to introduce Marcy Beltran from South Shore to present about her school and school programming.
Good evening. I am Marcy Beltran. I am the principal at Southshore Elementary. At Southshore, our mission is that we are a dual language school where all students are inspired to reach their highest potential through bilingualism, biliteracy, and multiculturalism. Our vision is that Southshore is a vibrant community where diversity is celebrated and every student is valued for their unique strengths and contributions. Our first goal is that by June of 2025, the number of students identified as at or above grade level benchmark will increase by 10% yearly as identified by our literacy composite data in at least one of the languages obtained through our MTS system measures. And the way we came up with that goal is we met as our instructional leadership team. We used our Spanish and English iReady data. And with that data, we identified that this is an area that we can continually improve and grow in. What we've done is we've have interventions for all students. We prioritize kinder through second grade in students' home language, and then we prioritize or emphasize English in grades 3 through 5, and as we continually grow and develop the biliteracy in both languages. Newcomers also receive an additional support from the ELD teachers in order to help them continue to increase in their home language fluency and reading development, foundational skills as they grow in developing English language. We have additional supports in all K through 12 grade classrooms for small groups. And we also do additional planning time after 20% meetings to help support teachers in their core planning time. Goal 2, also by June of 2025, the number of students identified at or above grade level benchmark will increase by 10% yearly as identified by mathematics composite data obtained through our MTSS process. Again, we met with the instructional leadership team and looked at the iReady Spanish and English math assessments. In order to support that goal, we've purchased the iReady MyPath and Happy Numbers. Both programs are online programs, and they provide bilingual additional supports. We have training on how to access and use the data provided by both programs. We support through math review in the opposite language of instruction to help students transfer of skills. And we also provide additional planning, again, after our 20% meetings to help support planning for core instruction. Goal 3, by June of 2026, we will reduce our referral numbers by 15% as identified in Synergy data and increase problem-solving skills by refining our foundation systems and incorporating collaborative problem-solving practices. Again, through our instructional leadership team, we looked at the data of visits in our behavior room, which we call the regulation zone room. In order to support that goal, our counselor leads SEL lessons once a month in every classroom. We also use the DESA data to create SEL small groups, also provided by our counselor. And our foundations team focuses on refining and improve our school-wide systems. To support early literacy, again, we provide interventions for all students. We focus on home language in kinder through second grade to build strong foundation on literacy. We provide additional support for our classrooms in K through second grade. We dedicated time for English and Spanish foundational skills in order to help students build that strong foundation in their first language. We also have additional support for all of our newcomers from NELD. Other key priorities, we have been working as a school to do some vertical alignment in Spanish and English, in language arts, language development, and in math. We are working to continue to understand and use the iReady data to make better decisions. And mental health, we use Stronger Oregon through FACT. Our next steps, we're looking for opportunities to continue to set and refine vertical alignment in Spanish and English, language arts, language developments, and in math. Our goal is that if we have strong vertical alignment across our grade levels, our students will continually grow and become stronger students, stronger academically. Points of pride and promise. We have a very strong after-school program, which we've had for several years. It offers interest-based enrichment and academic classes. So we have math races, reading races, book club. We participate in OBOB, but they also do art. We do sports, dance, food art. We've had a crochet class, all based on the interest of staff and students. We also offer free orchestra classes for any 3rd through 5th grade student that is interested. We have a pretty good group of students who participate in that. We have a Spanish preschool program. We're the only school with the Spanish preschool program. And I think this is our 3rd year of the preschool program. This year we started a 5th grade leadership. We've selected them through an application process. And the idea is to help students build leadership within the school. Things that they help with are, they help with younger grades, they help in assemblies, they help with any school-wide activity to help them build their leadership skills. All of our students and staff are emergent bilinguals to fully bilingual. So all of our staff and students are growing to become bilingual individuals. So we're very proud of that. Any questions?
I just had one real quick. You mentioned in key priorities, vertical alignment. Can you just elaborate on that a little bit more? Is that continuity of curriculum, or what does that specifically look like?
Yes, what we do is we look at what do we want our 5th graders to leave our school being able to do academically and linguistically. And the teachers, in fact, we got together last Wednesday to talk about if we want our students to leave 5th grade, for example, being able to have a conversation in Spanish. What do we do down the grades to ensure that by the time they leave our school, they're able to hit that mark?
Is there something that we can, as a board or a district, do to provide something to help better assist that? Or is that a curriculum, or is that just a process that has to be developed as it works backwards from, like you said, 5th grade backwards down?
It is a process that we have to work through backwards, and as we defined our goals, we have to go back and track the data to show whether we're hitting that mark and where do we need to adjust, what do we need to do or improve in to make sure that we meet those goals.
Awesome, thank you.
Anyone else? My question is, I see what your goals are. Did we have any, is improvement, unimprovement? What's going on? What kind of stuff is happening in the school themselves?
I would say that it's specifically in language arts, it is really difficult unless we create the data collection system. It is really difficult for us to track how many students are at grade level in one language or both languages and which one. And the reason is because the current system that tracks the data doesn't do that for us easily. So we have to do that. That's an area that I think we need a better system for tracking that. What I've noticed, I do have some data. There was so I'm going to use last year's data as students are currently being assessed in winter benchmark. Last year, for example, in language arts in Spanish, students came in reading at grade level 13% school-wide, which we had a pretty good improvement of 35% students at grade level by the end of the school year. We decreased students who were far below grade level from 43% to 26%. So there was a huge improvement from fall to spring. In math, and again, these are the assessment that is done in the fall accounts for end of year grade level data or end of year grade level standards. For math, we started the year last year at 5% at grade level, ended the year at 24%. But the far below, the students who are in the red, we started in the fall at 42% and ended the year at 26%. So we did make huge improvements in growth, but again, it'll take time for that to continue to improve that way.
Sure.
And I feel like the vertical alignment work that we're doing will help support that.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your work.
Thank you.
Okay. Next up, Bruce.
Next up, we have Mark Tim to present on Calapuya Middle School.
I can relate to that.
Gotcha. You're on the screen.
Should we provide a drum roll for you?
Are you gonna click the slideshow, or are you able to control that? Let's see if I can. Yeah. It is locked. Are you there? She's gonna figure it out. You want me just to continue with the paper copy here?
No, we can disconnect and I think we can.
It's not allowing me to advance. It's like a picture and not. Not letting me advance it.
Do any?
Chris, do you have it?
You have a,
Do you have that slideshow?
Give me 1 second.
like frozen. Hey, we're somewhere.
Not me.
That's me. All right, we're in business. Good deal. All right, Mark Tim, Calapuya Middle School. Mission, build relationships, teach expectations, expect to be challenged. First goal, so we meet as an ILT team regularly, and we go over all the data. We go over school report card. I mean, we've looked at school report card, SBAC data, iReady data, attendance, parent engagement data, who's attending, safe and civil school report. Our first goal that our ILT came up with is to improve reading scores. June of 2025, our goal is to hit the 45% mark. You can see in 21, 22, we were at 29%. 22, 23, we hit 39%. Last year, we were at 42%. So there's a steady increase of our reading scores. What we've done to do that is we have, it's not even listed there, but we have an instructional coach who gets into classrooms and helps teachers. We also have iReady in reading that levels kids and meets them where they're at. And so we personalize their instruction. We have a reading instructional assistant that helps out in the classroom. And we've hosted literacy nights for parents to come, and we've handed out books for kids, and we're just trying to increase the amount of exposure to reading for our students. And so our goal this year is 45%, and so we've been steadily increasing that. Goal 2 is math. Our goal this year is 24%. If you look at the last few years, 21, 22, we were at 14%. And so we've increased it to 17% the last couple of years, and we've kind of had a plateau there. So we made some changes this year to figure out how to increase that. Again, we're looking at the same stuff: state report card, SBAC data, iReady data. One thing we did for the math department is we gave them all common prep. And so they all have the same time to meet, 7th period. They said by the time 7th period hits, our kids are drained and math is not productive. So we gave all math teachers 7th period prep for them to meet and go over the data, talk about instruction, and improve that for students. The third goal that we hit was our attendance. Our attendance was not where we needed it to be. If you look at 21, 22, we were at 55%. We went down a little bit at 52%, and last year we hit 66%, which we're now kind of trending upward. Currently, our attendance for regular attenders is 67%, and overall, we're 89% attendance rate. So we're making progress there. We're getting kids to school. Still looking at the same, how do we arrive at the goal, the same kind of things we're looking at, same data. We provide attendance incentives and rewards for kids. We celebrate them. We try to make school engaging for them. We have Core Project, which is our SAL curriculum. Basically, how to be nice to each other, how to greet people, how to solve problems. We have something called C3 events. C3 events are Calapuya character counts, and those events are tied to tardies, behavior. We've tied it to grades before, but it's usually behavioral type stuff. Kids with no referrals, kids who make the class on time get celebrated. We host parent nights. We've had reading night, math night, and we have a science night coming up next month. We have OSU coming over, and they're going to do a bunch of science stuff with the kids, and it's our biggest turnout is science night. Let's see, there we go. Early literacy, if you look at our numbers there, 29% of our students are reading on or above grade level. So 29% are reading on or above grade level, but yet we have 42% passing. So we're pushing them to their limits. We have 19% is reading 1 grade level below, and 52% of our school is 2 or more grade levels below. We have some students in our school who are reading at like a 1st and 2nd grade level. And I'll show you points of pride when we get there because it is eye-opening. We have 2 certified staff, 1 classified staff to run reading interventions. Currently, we have 168 kids accessing reading intervention right now out of 590 kids. We have a bilingual program. We have advanced ELA. We have foundation classes to work on basic skills for 6th graders. Some of our key priorities, instructional leadership time. Again, we meet monthly, and that's, we have every single department represented in our ILT, our instructional leadership team. We don't have one department left behind. We have everybody representing their department. We continue to support staff. At the beginning of the year, we did a bunch of trauma-informed practices for staff to how to work with, how to connect with students. And then we've done QTEL and AVID strategies at the beginning of the year. Our points of pride, I don't know if I can read all those, but if you look at the ELA change and the math change, anywhere that's blue or green in those 2 changes, I think I can read them here. So it's all students, level 5 for reading and level 3 for math. Students experiencing poverty, English language learners, students with disabilities. In the ELA department, we hit level 5, and that's the highest growth you can make according to the state. We've made, in the last 2 years, we've made level 5 and level 4 growth in reading and math. We have underserved races. We have Hispanic Latinos level 5, a multiracial level 5, white level 5. And then in math, we hit a number of green ones, which are level 4s, which are the top 2 levels you can make for growth. So when they come to us at a 1st and 2nd grade level, they are growing at a level 4 and 5 according to the state. So we're really pushing them to excel in reading and math, especially for reading. If I can't read that, 29% again, 39%, and right now we're at 42% passing rate in the state test. And our goal is 45% this year. Any questions?
We have a couple.
All right, you're up.
Thanks, Mark. That looks great. What does reading intervention look like in a middle school schedule?
Yeah. So we have multiple classes. So we have 2 reading intervention teachers, 1 EA that bounces kind of back and forth. It's basically, it's a class.
It is, okay,
It's
so
a class.
they have English, 6th grade English and
They have
reading
English language
intervention.
arts, and then they have a reading intervention class.
Okay,
That class is now fluid, though, so if they test, they can test out and they can test in.
okay.
And so right now we have 168 in the reading intervention class.
That costs them an elective then?
McCossum elective.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's-
And actually, that's a huge carrot for kids getting out.
Yeah,
Because they
got
want
it.
to take shop and, so, yeah.
My next question is maybe difficult to answer, and I may not be able to explain it correctly.
Okay.
But when you look at your math scores, 17% is pretty low.
Yep.
Do your math teachers feel that's an accurate reflection of your kids' actual ability? Like when they're teaching, do they think, geez, man, most of the kids in this class have no idea how to do this math? Or are your teachers generally surprised that it comes out as low as it does?
That is a good question. I think a little bit of both. I think they're surprised at how low, at 17% is low. I agree with you. I think part of the issue is the motivation to take the test seriously. We have some students that go in and they're done within an hour, half an hour, and they just click buttons and walk out. And so how do we incentivize? How do we motivate? How do we make it known to kids that this is highly important, that we truly reflect their scores? So there's some of that where they're just clicking buttons to get done with the test.
Okay.
As far as the math department, they're working really hard to get those. I mean, we have 8th graders on calculators, 5 + 3 on a calculator, you know. And so we have a foundational class that works on the basic math skills as well for those kids.
Okay, thanks.
Real quick.
Yeah.
So do your iReady scores in math have a discrepancy with the state test? Or do you guys see a?
No, it's pretty accurate. I mean, it's pretty reflective of our already scores with math and our already scores with reading. It's fairly close.
How do they
indicator.
compare to the state test in math? Like, what do your iReady scores show you? Are you predicting about the same?
That's a good question. We are a little bit over that, and again, it's really difficult when kids click buttons and just try to finish the test. But we're currently over the 17%, and I'm hoping we get into the 20s, you know. But when we look at growth, our kids are growing a lot. So,
Thank you.
Yeah. Any other questions?
How have behaviors been? Is that good, bad, staying steady? What?
Yeah. We had a great start with the school year. I mean, it was very positive, and, you know, we've had the last few weeks after winter break and after strike and after winter break, we've had some spikes in behavior that we haven't seen in the beginning of the year with certain students. We have a few challenging ones, but as far as data, in terms of, I looked at data behavior last year with referrals, we're at 401 or 408 last year. We're at 401 this year. So we're it's a work in progress for sure.
Okay.
Same with tardies.
Is your no cell phone policy still enacted and still being accepted by the students?
Yeah, it
Good.
is. It is one of the best things I think we've done in a while. It has changed the culture of the school when we're not allowing kids to play games during class time. We have kids sent to the office to turn in phones, but it's a non-issue. We've only had a couple kids refuse. Most of the kids just turn it in and go back to class. So it's been a positive thing for our culture at our school.
Excellent.
For sure.
Thank you for what you're doing,
Yeah.
getting her done.
Thank you.
Thanks.
And apologize for the technical delay.
We all have experienced that. Okay, consent agenda. Personnel licensed.
I'll move to approve the personnel license as presented.
All second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Personnel classified.
I'll move to approve personnel classified as presented.
All second.
All in favor? Any opposed? Okay, regular board meeting minutes, 10/28/24.
I'll move to approve the minutes for board meeting 10/28/2024 as presented.
All second.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Minutes, emergency board meeting, 12/2/24.
I'll move to approve minutes for emergency board meeting on 12/2/2024 as presented.
All second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Minutes, regular board meeting, 12/9/24.
Move to approve minutes for regular board meeting 12/9/2024 as presented.
All second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, next up, K, old business, budget committee calendar. Jane.
This is the second presentation of the calendar. And if the dates meet, with what you believe you'll be able to attend, then I would ask that you approve the calendar as presented.
Do I hear a motion?
I'll move to approve the 2025-2026 budget calendar as presented.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, next up, L2, bilingual education program. Bruce.
We have Stacy Lee here to present on our bilingual education program.
Hello, I'm Stacy Lee. I'm the curriculum coordinator for the school district. Some of my other duties are outdoor school, working with our MTSS systems, TAG, and maybe my favorite, but don't tell anyone, the bilingual education program. So I'm here today to talk to you about the bilingual education program. Sometimes you'll hear it as call it BEP for short. So who is in BEP? And then this is just a little clarification. When we're talking about the bilingual education program, that can include English learners, it can include Latinx students, it can include families needing interpretation and translation, multilingual learners, heritage speakers, Oregon State Seal of Biliteracy candidates, but it's really none of those things. It's its own thing. And so I'm going to describe how it is its own thing. If you remember, some of this is a repeat from last year. We're really happy to make this an annual report and be able to share what we've been doing each year. The 3 pillars of bilingual education, so this is what the goals of our program are. Bilingualism and biliteracy. So we want students to be able to speak, listen, read, and write in English and in Spanish. Grade level academic achievement. We want students to be able to meet grade level standards in English and in Spanish. And cross-cultural competence. We want students to be able to communicate appropriately to the situation and the culture. That should sound somewhat familiar to what you heard, especially from Marcy talking about the South Shore. Our mission and vision for the program is to increase the academic achievement of emergent bilingual learners while empowering students through multilingualism and nurturing the diverse identities, languages, races, and cultural heritage of students and families in the Albany community. So why do we have a bilingual education program? And this is kind of the short version of what I told you last year. There is significant research base to expect better long-term academic results for students in bilingual education. I have a little screenshot there of one of the best studies on this that happened with Portland Public Schools, a longitudinal study that showed that students in their dual language immersion programs were able to raise their achievement levels even in English compared to their other students. And then our demographics compel us to do so. So we have, as a district, 25.6% of our students identifying as Hispanic or Latinx. And 13.6% of our students district-wide have at least one parent or guardian who indicated Spanish is their preferred language. That doesn't mean one parent who speaks Spanish, that's one parent who took the time to change their preferred communication from the school district to 13.6%. So we know we have even a higher number of parents who use Spanish at home. These are the demographics, and so if you look at all BEP students, we currently have 701 students across our 4 schools that are enrolled in a bilingual education program class. Out of those 701, at least one parent that prefers Spanish, that accounts for 455 of our students. 295 of those BEP students are currently identified as English learners. 415 of those 701 were at some time identified as English language learners. But you can see our program is not the English learner program. You also have a huge percentage then, about 41% who were never identified as English learners who are in the program. Hispanic and Latino, We have 78.7% or 552 of our current students identified there. Sometimes when we show you race or ethnicity numbers, it's what we call consolidated data, and it shows Hispanic Latina always shows up over everything else, so it'll erase the other categories. And so I went back through and really looked at those categories, and so these are for racial categories. This is beyond Hispanic or Latin. So American Indian or Alaska Native, 93 of our students. Asian, 1 student. Black or African American, 15 students. Pacific Islanders or Native Hawaiians, 4 students. And 2 or more races, 56 students. White, 532. The other thing, when we're talking about why bilingual education, we've started thinking about this more through a family lens. And so why would a family want to have their students in bilingual education? And this is straight from our website now. There are several benefits to being multilingual, including connections to family and others in our community, cross-cultural, social, and academic communication skills, cognitive functioning. There's a lot of research on this that shows that people who are bilingual or multilingual have more flexible thinking, pay better attention to detail, are able to multitask better. And then future job opportunities. And we purposely put them in that order. It really fits with why we started this program in the first place. So since I talked to you last January, we've been working as a team through the guided principles for dual language education. And these are the kind of the 5 bullet points or 5 of those categories under the principles. Program structure, we have a secondary team that includes teachers and administrators, and we meet quarterly. We've made changes to the middle school courses that I'll explain more in a minute. For curriculum, we've added to our Spanish reading intervention options and really grown those programs at Southshore in particular. We've also worked on improving our curriculum within the high school Spanish language arts class at the high school. Professional development, we attended the Oregon Association for Bilingual Education annual conference, and we have plans to do that again in February. Assessment and accountability, I will talk about that quite a bit more in the next slides. Our main question is, how are we doing as a program, and how do we know? Do we have the right data to know how we're doing? And family and community, there's a lot to do here, but we really focused on increasing our visibility. So those middle school courses, you can see what we're offering this year versus what we offered last year. The biggest change is in 7th and 8th grade. Last year we had taken over the 6th grade class and made it the social studies class. Part of that is not taking students' electives anymore. So we're teaching Spanish through social studies content. And so we've done that now again with 7th grade. So the 7th grade class for BEP is a social studies class. Calapuya was able to hire a science teacher who can teach in Spanish, and last year she taught 7th grade science. This year she's doing 7th grade and 8th grade science. So how are we doing as a program? We, one of the ways we looked at that are our language skills. We used the STAMP. We had used 2 different tests, and we've all switched to STAMP and gotten back on track with testing every grade level 4th through 10th. There are 4 modalities: reading, writing, listening, and speaking. In some grade levels, we do all 4 modalities, and some we just do 2. We have BEP goals that we set a long time ago that are what level we want students to be at each grade level. We only set those for high school. We didn't do it for elementary, which is part of the vertical alignment problem that Southshore was talking about, is really looking at what our goals are grade level by grade level. But you can see we came pretty close to our goals this past year. We hadn't done as thorough a testing in quite a while. And so 6th grade was very close to that 4 level. 8th grade, by 7th and 8th grade, we're trying to get up to level 5, which is intermediate high. The level 6 that we try to get to we surpassed it for listening and speaking, and we came very close with reading and writing in 9th grade. that is the level for the Oregon State Seal of Biliteracy. Our ultimate goal is to get students at 7 or above, which is in the advanced level, by the time they graduate. There we go. AP Spanish. So we've been offering AP Spanish at the 11th grade level for several years now. And what I wanted you to see here is that we had our best year yet last year for AP Spanish. We normally have just one student score that highest level of 5. You can see for 3 years, we just had one student. Last year, we had 5 students. The mean score there is above both the state and the global averages for AP Spanish, so we're excited about that.
Those are super impressive numbers, by the way.
It's good. Thank you. State Seal of Biliteracy. So we have been offering the State Seal of Biliteracy since spring 2018. We're one of the first districts. I think we're not the very first. Hillsborough, I think, has a speed, but we're pretty early on adopters. In 2021, spring 2021, that was our first kindergarten class from Southshore, it's our first grade class from Southshore. We started with 2 kindergarten classes and 1 first grade class. The first graders graduated in spring 2021. The 2 kindergarten classes, they would have graduated in spring 2022. So you can see our numbers were getting higher, and we had that nice jump with the kindergartners of 42. This year we had 52 students earn their Oregon State Seal of Biliteracy. You don't have to be in the bilingual program to try for this. We have several former BEP students. It's actually really hard to track our students in Synergy. That's one of our things we need to work on, but we do know several were in the program at some time. We also know 27 of the 36 of South students last year were current bilingual ed program students. And I must say, it's not really related to BEP, but 3 AOS students, we had never had any AOS students until last year. One of them we know for sure was a former BEP student, and we were really excited to have 3. A big piece that's missing is student and really parent voice. And so one of the first things we committed to doing and adding assessment data was to ask students about the program. And so we wanted to know how school was for them more generally, but also how they're using their bilingual skills, and how they feel about belonging, if they feel like they belong as part of the bilingual ed program or not. And so I'm going to attempt to play some of the students, and it's going to be in Spanish, but the transcript is here. I'll see if it works. Please work.
Estoy orgulloso de estar en una clase de español como Beth porque aprendo más sobre mi cultura y muchas otras culturas y todo el mundo en español.
Ha habido veces cuando alguien me puede mirar en la escuela o afuera de la escuela y pueden pensar que yo solo sé un lenguaje, pero yo soy alguien que puede cambiar el estereotipo en gente que se mira como yo, que hablan en español y el inglés fluido iguales. Entonces yo creo que eso es un gran cambio y necesitamos más gente que pueda hacer así.
Pienso que sí, porque me gusta aprender más sobre vocabulario y sobre más de mi cultura. Y también me gusta que conozco muchas personas entre la clase.
Poder ser intérprete para gente que no habla el inglés. Yo siento que permanezco, o soy parte de un programa bilingüe, ya que puedo hablar 2 idiomas y puedo ayudar a la gente a entender el idioma de inglés y español o ayudar a poder conectar a la comunidad.
Los cambios que a mí me gustaría ver en mi escuela sería teniendo más opciones y más gente como yo en mis clases, más mexicanos y más clases de español que sean mejor adaptados para nosotros. Y es tan importante porque hace una conexión de las clases y los estudiantes más personal y nos ayuda para oportunidades en el futuro.
Unos cambios que me gustaría ver en la escuela son más diversidad entre los maestros. Es importante a mí porque diversidad en los maestros representa a los estudiantes que están aquí y que es bueno que ven unos maestros como ellos.
Yo siento que el programa bilingüe me ayuda a mí a perfeccionar mi español y también me ayuda a aprender palabras más complicadas y aprender palabras que no he escuchado antes y también me ayuda a desarrollar mejor mi español.
Siento que pertenece con el programa de educación bilingüe porque siento conectada con los estudiantes en mi clase y ayudamos una a la otra. Y también los estudiantes en mi clase estaban en el programa desde que estaban pequeños.
I know it's a little bit long to listen to, but I hope you're at least, even if you don't understand the Spanish, realize like they're able to really speak about how the program has impacted them and what they would like to see in the program. I am always impressed with how thoughtful they are in their responses to this. And it was really good feedback for us. I also got to be part of, when you do the Oregon State Seal of Biliteracy, students have to pass in 2 languages. And so a lot of our students, it'll be English and then whatever their partner language is, Spanish, or we've had a couple in French or Vietnamese, as you saw. So for the English, if they've done well on their state OSAS scores, it passed everything except the speaking, and then we have to do a speaking sample with them in English. And some of it can be pretty silly. These are kids that are passing their state classes at their state tests in reading and writing, and they've been able to take advanced classes, but I have to interview them in English to make sure their English is okay. And so we used it as an opportunity to ask them questions about school and what they want to do in the future and what they've been using. And a lot of them talk about the bilingual ed program and how they use their bilingual skills. And so it's very fun. If you want to do this and help us with it, it's coming up later this year, and we can use more people to interview students.
Any questions?
I have a couple quick things. I know I'm taking a long time. Family and community. So our webpage, we did a major redo of our webpage this last year to make it very clear how to enroll in the program, what that entails, what classes they are, different steps for that. And that required redoing some forms and making them K-12 forms. So we're really trying to improve our visibility, but also our consistency for family communication. We had 2 major sociocultural events that were, we had all 3rd through 5th grade go to OSU Prax last year in May and see Mariachi Divas. That's 2 of our students right up in front getting high fives from other students. If you've been to OSU Prax, it's a beautiful theater, and we took up the whole bottom half of the theater. The kids shouted out ideas of what they wanted the band to play. The band took them up on it and played one of them. They were ecstatic. It was so much fun. And then the 6th through 12th grade, so NAMS and Calapuya sent buses of students over to South, and we joined the South students in BEP. And Los Cafeteros, who had performed for OSU, came over and performed for us, which was the first time we've ever done that big a program together. We actually just had our event for the 3rd through 5th graders last Friday. It was again at OSU Prax. It was the Villalobos brothers from Veracruz. They're all violinists, and again, had a really great time. It's a great opportunity for them to hear performers using Spanish, talking about culture, explaining the Villalobos brothers spent a long time talking about how important it is to bridge cultures through language, and how they do it, and encouraging the students. We've added some student recognition. As you may have noticed, the All-Star included recognition for those students who did the best on the stamp this year. That was the first time that we hope to repeat. Our senior awards and graduation, we've had a recognition where students who've taken BEP classes every year and had a GPA of at least 2.5 in those courses receive a stole as BEP graduates. But we added something new this year and gave participation to students who've been in the program for 10 years or more. And we had 18 students receive that award last year. Our next steps, we are going to the OABE conference. Again, this is the Bilingual Ed Conference. It's in the Canby area this time. We're going to go, we have a team, we have new secondary administrators and who have not been part of a lot of training with bilingual ed. We're going to do a high school visit together with some of the teachers. We also have our first parent participants going on the Saturday of the conference, so we're excited to be able to send parent participants. We're working on updating our program framework. We haven't gone through a major update in several years. We also need to refine and update our projection maps and unit plans. We're working, continuing on improving our assessment data systems and how that works with Synergy. You heard Marcy allude to some of the things. It's hard to get some of this data, and so continue to work on better ways to do that. Continuing to grow our program visibility and those partnerships in the community, and plan for increased parent, student, and community input. And then we're always working on how do we help support hiring and master scheduling for next year. It gets tricky in the secondary level, and we always need more bilingual teachers. Okay, I took the cute picture of Southshore students. They're probably about 4 years ago, this picture, but I love it too much. We talk about bilingual ed being a superpower. So what's better than superhero day? Questions?
I don't have any questions other than the program's an excellent program, and it's been so neat watching the kids. You know, I definitely would agree with the fact that it has to be a priority, and we need to continue to focus on it because kids gain so much by it, you know, so it's awesome.
I have a question. When you did the interview, all of the students disregarding their first language, all answered in Spanish?
For the 11th graders, yes. When I was doing I helped with the English interviews for the Seal of Biliteracy. The Spanish interviews, yeah, they were done in Spanish. One of our teachers did this with his AP classes, the 11th grade classes. He did some of the interviews in person, then he also did written ones. They all use Spanish. A couple of, I would say, 1 or 2 students slipped into English for part of their answer, but they were.
Good. That's awesome.
It was all Spanish otherwise, yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, Steve.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
thank you very much. Okay, next up, L3, Operations and Bond Report. Dave.
Thank you. I'll just pull it up here.
Look at you, Mr. Tech.
Yeah. Got it going.
Yeah, he doesn't want our help.
I got it. Just want to start with this again. This is something that's really important to us as we're executing our work. It's what we hold each other accountable to and what we're trying to achieve. So I just include that as part. You can refer back to it later. Really want to start by talking about something we've implemented new this year. It's called department rounds. And basically what we do is each department, 1 round per month. Sometimes we rotate the members around. Sometimes it's just the leadership team of that department. We try to hit 2 to 3 schools per round. So in an hour and a half, we'll jump to from one school to another and each morning. And really, this is a great opportunity. Really, the purpose behind this is to identify the strengths and challenges in the buildings. It's really about being visible in our buildings, communicating with staff that are there. We also have an opportunity to see the challenges that the buildings have, identify some projects, safety concerns, but inevitably what happens is sometimes we are able to notify the principal that we're on our way to the school the day or 2 before and they can join us, walk us around. But like at Waverly the other day, we jumped into Waverly, asked the office manager, hey, is there anything you want to point out to us? And we got a 20-minute tour with the office manager, and she pointed out some things that needed to be addressed around the school. So that's really what these are about. It's to get our folks out of their departments into the buildings, and I think they're worth the time, and our staff enjoy being in the building and seeing the challenges as well. So it's been a good addition. Transportation Department, Cindy wanted me to let you folks know for the first time in 4 years, all the routes are covered by their own driver. That's been a big push in the Transportation Department, and she's really excited about that. That means there's consistency for those kids each day, seeing that face welcome them on the bus each day. So that's really exciting. Currently, we're analyzing bus and van replacement needs as well, so that's a priority and a focus that we're working towards. Facility Department highlights, Sunrise is completed, it's within budget. We are finalizing some controls with the system just so it's running correctly. Sewer line correction, so remember we had a flood there that shut school down there. We identified that when they built that new building in the front, they'd had a few 90-degree turns for those lines going out into the street. We've corrected that and made it a straight line. So we hopefully don't have any backups in the future. So we had that corrected over, I think during the strike, we had that corrected. Central School's completed. We are fine-tuning again the heating and ventilation system there. It's really an awesome effort by our HVAC team. They finalized the last 2 installs over break, and I'm really proud of the work that they did to provide a consistent heat and ventilation for that building. I've heard no complaints about it being too hot. So we feel really good about that. South Shore, just a few things there. We are continuing to monitor the door closures. We had some ventilation issues in the attic that resolved this summer, we believe, but we are continuing to monitor them. Interesting thing about work orders. In my time here, we've always presented numbers about work orders being completed and more created than completed. But you can see we flipped that this fall. So for September, December, we've completed more than were created. And you can see that's quite an accomplishment. I'm really proud of what they're doing there. So working hard.
That means you're making up some ground?
Making up some ground. So custodial and grounds, so with the instructional or the rounds that we're doing and additional on-site reviews that Gary and Chrissy are doing, we're showing that there's been a lot of strong work being done on grounds around our district. And it's evident by when we go on site and do those reviews, it's very apparent. I was at the backside of Oak Grove this week and noticed that all of the bushes in the backside of Oak Grove have been trimmed. And that's the first time since I've been here that they've been touched. And so that's just outstanding work by Chuck and Levi doing that work in the backside of Oak Grove. Typically, we've had volunteers have to come in and do that, and they were able to work that into their schedule. So changes in systems of work and communications is showing good success with custodial and grounds work. Technology departments, I should have Kathy come up and do this slide for you, but she put this together for me. Again, this work is outstanding, has always been since I've been here, that the ticket system that they have is very solid. They get a lot of tickets and they close a lot of tickets and they do it really rapidly. They have a great team that does that. Some things that she's working on right now are really some network security upgrades, and then wireless access and controls. Those are all E-rate funded projects. Those are going really well. She spoke this morning to our cabinet team about some updated display stations, capabilities with the food service classroom. So now they have mobile camera systems so they can go and project student work at individual stations, and the teachers are really enjoying that, and that was a really good upgrade. So future projects on her radar are phone systems across the district and implementing a new district filter this summer, and then E-rate project planning and closing out the E-rate plan. So the big update I have for you tonight is with the food service program. I've given the board some updates. I want to continue that. So currently we're in year three of a 5-year fixed price contract contract with Sedesco. Recently, I've identified some concerns. We've had two employee resignations from Sedesco. Currently, that continuity is really tough on our staff when we have a change in leadership, and so those are concerns I've identified. Currently, we have Susie, who's in the audience here, and Mark filling in for those vacancies, and they're doing an outstanding job for me right now. We've also noted a recent decline in food quality and a variety of menu items. And then I've also had some concerns about support structures and systems of implementation from the corporate level, just the support that we have for implementing our program. So what we decided to do is to start an exploration process. ODE has authorized us to do a one-year non-competitive contract as an option for us. So I formed a core group of nutrition staff, asked them their opinion on what they would like to see us do, and they highly endorsed us going out and exploring what else is available for gaps. So we've done some screening of companies. We have an on-site visits occurring this week. All food service staff have been invited to participate in the process, and they're really guiding our next steps. I don't know what they are at this time, but I'm looking for their input to guide us how we might navigate the next couple weeks here. So the options that we have available to us is we could end the contract with Sedesco with the 60-day notice. That's in our contract. And we could implement a one-year temporary contract with the new company, and then the following year go out to a competitive RFP process that the district has done before. So that's an option we have for us. We also can continue with Sedesco as well. So right now, we're really just exploring what else is available to us out there. And our staff are excited to engage in that process. I've been really encouraged about their participation and their feedback as well. Our goal is to increase the quality of food and really increase our staff satisfaction. They want to serve a good product to our kids, and right now they're a little frustrated. The menu that we have coming up next month, I think, is an improvement with Susie's work and Mark's work, and two leads, Lori and Deborah. They did a good job of putting together a menu next month, so I feel encouraged about that. But that's this current status of our program update there. Any questions you might have?
It's like you're on it.
I would be very concerned about canceling a contract in this environment. Fear that the next contract you'll get will be more expensive.
Currently, I have the two companies that we are exploring with are in consultation with Jane to explore that very thing. So if we do make a change, I anticipate it'd be very close to the same cost we're experiencing now.
I don't know how much I'm at liberty to say about what was discussed today, but essentially, the bid that we were given to retain the contract is at a point where they are losing money.
That hasn't been explicitly stated to me, but it's very difficult to implement a product with that price point. Yes.
So what we have is we have a low price at this point, but the kids are also not getting great meals. And when they're losing money on every meal, it does not incentivize getting more kids to take meals because it just increases the loss.
So I might be right, but you might have a point.
That's perfect. Yes.
And so tell me about the funding streams for lunch, and is that money that competes with compensation for employees? Is it federally funded, and we're really not out anything if the price goes up a little bit? We just really need to see the math before.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's going to be a piece of this for sure.
And if we came back and presented any potential change to you, I'll bring those numbers to you. But essentially, our price point, right now, what we're paying Sedesco for meals is $2.09 a meal. We're reimbursed at $4.54. And that's the difference between those two numbers is where we pay for our staffing and running our program. That's the difference of the two. So if you increase that 209 to a little bit higher number, then the math is, can we still run our program with the staff we have? And that's what we bring back and present to you, and that's what Jane and I are working with companies to identify what that delta is.
I assume that, I mean, the nice thing is that every school district serves food, so I assume you've talked to other districts to sort of get a sense as to other, what other people are doing in these situations?
Yeah,
Okay, so it shouldn't be a huge surprise, no matter where we end up.
no.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
More to come.
Sounds like more to come.
Yes.
Okay, no new business. Future agenda items, we have none. Other business, none. Item P, do I hear an motion to adjourn?
I'll move, we adjourn.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? We're done for the night. Thank you.